So I wanted to watch the new Batman movie in theater, but this guy, who apparently had too much vodka, decided to invade Ukraine, and as a result, Hollywood took down Batman from Russian theaters.
Oh man. Oh God. Oh man.
And I don't know how banning regular Russian people from seeing this film will end the war. It's not like Putin's gonna panic and call back all the troops. Anyway, with no other choice left, today I want to talk about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Released back in 2016, this was a very divisive film. Some people found it to be horrible, others thought it was pretty good. And while I believe Batman v Superman had many flaws, I don't think it deserves all the criticism it got. Look, I have my own problems with BVS, which I will address in a moment, but to call it one of the worst superhero movies ever, considering that there are some utterly diabolical films out there, doesn't seem fair to me. It sure has a convoluted plot, I agree with that. Although if you watch the director's cut, the story will make much more sense. The film tries to do too many things at the same time. It not only delves deep into the internal issues of its main heroes while trying to work them in the overall story, but also introduces more characters and sets up bigger events. You can't do all of that. No matter how hard you try, you're gonna fail in some of those areas. This is why, despite its pretty long runtime, Batman v Superman sometimes feels rushed and messy. All the unnatural attempts to set up the Justice League take away our focus from the core idea of its story, and considering that the story isn't perfect, it doesn't really help. Look, I respect Zack Snyder. He's a visionary with a unique style who clearly enjoys what he's doing. You may not like his work, but you have to admit that no one creates movies the way Zack Snyder does. Plus, from what I've heard, he's a pretty nice guy in real life, which is a rare occurrence in modern Hollywood. And yet, I don't agree with all the decisions he made about this film. For example, the villain aspect. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg is not a bad actor, but casting him as Lex Luthor was very weird to say the least. This is just my opinion, but the greatest arch-enemy of Superman shouldn't look like Mark Zuckerberg and sound like fucking Mickey Mouse.
Ahoy, ahoy! You! Now run! No. No, what am I? I don't know!
That's not to say that Luthor's character was a total garbage, but maybe if he was more cold-hearted, calculating, confident, and serious, I think it would have been more appropriate for the overall tone. I mean, there are so many great actors that could have played this role that don't look ridiculous when they are bold. For example, Mark Strong would have been perfect for it. I'd like to see Jason Statham in that role. Hell, even Bruce Willis. No, not Vin Diesel. That's too much. I don't think so. Definitely not. The biggest problem of Batman v Superman's plot is that it tries too hard to be deep. It incorporates too many ideas and eventually suffers under its own weight, which leaves the film pretty much open to criticism. And it's really sad because there's a truly amazing film hiding somewhere within this movie, but it has been hijacked by a number of wrong creative decisions and corporate interference. It's really easy to make fun of BVS, especially for those who intentionally choose to only notice its flaws, which, don't get me wrong, they do exist. But I think the biggest reason why this film received so much negative is the immense level of hopes and expectation bestowed on it. I mean, Batman and Superman? Two most iconic superheroes in one movie? That must be one of the most anticipated films of the decade. So people didn't hate this movie because it sucked. They did it because they went to cinema with a set of hopes and expectations, and as a result, instead of watching the film, they constantly compared it with their own preconceived notions. And look, I know how it works. You watch the film with a certain pre-established image of what it should be like, and when the film doesn't satisfy your hopes, you just refuse to like it and use any opportunity to dunk on it. I know what I'm saying. I've been there. After I saw the BVS first time, I was confused and kinda disappointed. It's only after a while, when I watched it again with a clear head, I saw that despite all its problems, Batman v Superman is a special film. And it's painfully unfair when people call this movie stupid, cause trust me, it is anything but stupid. In fact, if you take a detailed view at the story, characters and their motivations, it's actually pretty smart. One of the biggest issues people had about this film was Batman killing. I can actually understand that, considering Bruce Wayne's tragic backstory and his character arc as a comic book hero. But we shouldn't forget that this is the older and less idealistic version of Caped Crusader. If you pay attention, right in the beginning Bruce Wayne admits that he lost his way and pretty much doesn't care about the moral principles that he used to have. He was Batman for 20 years. He saw some messed up shit. His adopted son was killed by Joker. Bruce had plenty of chances to kill Joker, but he didn't because of his moral code, which led to Robin's death. After realizing that, do you think Bruce will stay faithful to his no-killing rule? Look, this may not suit with your conventional concept of Batman, but in the context of this story it works. There's a breaking point for any human being, and it's obvious that this Batman is broken. Whether you like it or hate it, it is what it is. And to be fair, it's not like Batman didn't kill before. You can check out all his previous movies and comic books if you don't believe me. Plus, fighting crime without killing a single person is very unrealistic for such a realistic character. So, I don't think this is a valid criticism, but that's just my opinion. Actually, if you ask me, Ben Affleck's Batman is the best looking version I've seen so far. He's brutal, he's dangerous, and he fights like a madman because he is a madman.
Well, if a guy dresses up like a bat, clearly has issues.
And let's just be honest, if you're a criminal who's being attacked by Batman, which version would make you instantly shit your pants? The answer is obvious. Of course, if I'm gonna talk about Batman, I can't go without mentioning the most misunderstood scene from this movie. The Martha scene.
Why did you say that name?
People think that Batman didn't kill Superman because their moms both have the same name. Yeah, that's really funny. When Bruce is about to kill Superman, drawing his last breath, Clark says,
You're letting him kill Martha.
I don't know about you, but this is how I see it. Bruce Wayne believes that Superman must die in order to ensure security for people. He even convinced himself that killing him isn't actually a murder.
You were never a god. You were never even a man.
And when he sees this alien, just seconds before his death, not begging to spare his life but to save another person, that makes him question everything. Initially, the name Martha shocks Bruce. He looks around confused and doesn't understand what's going on. He has a panic attack, probably PTSD, and becomes furious. Only when Lois clarifies everything, he finally sees the full picture. Apart from being a lucky coincidence, Clark naming his own mother Martha might be a very subtle manipulation, considering that he knows Batman's identity and he frames it saying you're letting them kill Martha. But the fact that he also says, find him, save Martha, kinda implies that he accepts his own death and only hopes that someone will save his mother. You see, in the opening scene of this film, we see Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed, and Thomas Wayne's last word was,
Martha.
This isn't just done for dramatic purposes, it's a very smart setup that shows a man who, even in his death, puts the life of a loved one above his own. This is exactly how Clark chooses to die. From the perspective of Bruce Wayne, this scene draws parallels between Clark and Thomas Wayne, showing that in a way, it's like he's killing his own father.
Martha.
This explains Batman's rage when he throws away the spear, because he realizes that he turned into the murderer that he hated his whole life. So the only problem with this scene is that it was too complex for a general audience to get it immediately. That's why for many it seemed to be anticlimactic and ridiculous. Many claim that Zack Snyder doesn't get Superman as a hero. Well, I would argue with that. You see, Snyder actually did a really good job making Superman, fundamentally boring and invincible, therefore unrelatable character, as human as possible. He's flawed, he makes mistakes, and he faces some difficult choices. A lot of fans were terrified that Clark killed Zod in the end of Man of Steel. Superman does not supposed to kill, they say. I mean, let's just forget for a moment what a fictional character should or should not do, okay? Are you telling me that Clark choosing to destroy the future of his own kind in order to save humans isn't heroic enough? Are you suggesting that General Zod, a madman that lost the purpose of his existence, forcing Superman a choice of committing murder or witnessing the death of an innocent family is a bad ending? Like, what did you want to happen? Superman should have taken Zod to prison so that he'll escape in Superman 2 and fight him again? Give me a fucking break. I know that this isn't the bright, hopeful, and little bit childish Superman that wears his underwear on top of his pants and saves cats from trees, and if you're hoping to see that version, I'm sorry, but you can't judge a movie based on what it isn't. It's like eating very spicy food and then complaining that the food isn't sweet enough.
You serious?
Snyder's interpretation of Superman is a realistic take on an individual with godlike powers who lives in a world with real consequences. One of my favorite aspects of Batman v Superman is that it accurately displays how the world would react if there really was a Superman. Most people love him, some even glorify and worship him. But no matter how hard Clark tries, there will always be those who will be terrified of his existence.
I don't hate the sinner. I hate the sin.
10 seconds to end.
And yours, my friend, is existing.
So he gradually realizes that his destiny of being an ideal for humans to strive for is unattainable.
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
Superman's attempts to do the right thing and save people, while well-intent, can lead to bad consequences. In a deleted scene where Clark talks with his father, his dad tells him a story where he tried to save his farm but ended up killing his neighbor's horses. It's a perfect metaphor for Clark being unable to avoid the responsibility from unintended outcomes of his actions. Clark is not perfect, neither are people who he tries to save, so he cannot be a god for them, not the kind of god people would like him to be. But he tries his best to be a good man, so eventually he sacrifices himself to save the people and the world he fell in love with. And only after that, people understood what they lost. Only in death, Superman became the ideal he was supposed to be. Some viewers criticize this scene from Man of Steel where Joseph Kent dies to keep Clark's identity in secret, because he believed that the world wasn't ready for him, that people would reject Superman. Well, not long after Superman became a public figure, he died. So it turns out his father was right after all. I guess at the end of the day, what I want to say is there's a lot to love and appreciate this film for. Its story, symbolism, stunning cinematography, and of course the soundtracks. I can't emphasize enough how good Hans Zimmer is. And it says a lot when high-ranked professional critics from Rotten Tomatoes say that Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is the best thing about this film. I mean, I don't mind a good-looking lady swinging a sword and kicking ass, but if a secondary character who plays an insignificant role in the overall plot is the only thing that you liked about this film, well then you simply weren't watching it. Anyway, that's all I got to say for today. I'll see you next time. Take care.